I'm Carla, 68. 6 months ago, I was sitting at my dining room table, surrounded by my family. It was a Sunday dinner, and the atmosphere was warm and filled with joy. Tommy, my 7-year-old grandson, burst into the kitchen, his arms wrapped around a huge bakery box. Behind him came Emma, 5 years old, carrying a small bouquet of daisies, saying shyly that Daddy told her yellow was my favorite. Elliot, my son, looked healthier than he had in years, and David, a man who had become an important part of our lives, stood beside him, still a bit tentative but smiling. But it wasn't always like this. It all started on my 68th birthday. I had spent 3 weeks planning a grand family party. I chose the perfect menu, decorated the dining room with beautiful fresh flowers, and called everyone to confirm their attendance. I even bought a new red dress, the kind my son Ethan always said made me look elegant. The table was set for 8, with place cards written in my best handwriting. There were Ethan, his wife Lily, little Ben, who was 7, sweet Mia, who was 5, my brother Henry, his wife Grace, and of course, me at the head of the table. By 6:30, no one had arrived. I checked my phone multiple times, thinking I might have gotten the time wrong, but it was clearly marked in my calendar. At 7 o'clock, I called Ethan, but it went straight to voicemail. Then I called Lily, and the same thing happened. Henry didn't answer either, which was very strange because he always picked up quickly. I stood in the dining room, looking at the untouched plates. The candles I had lit an hour ago had burned down to stumps, and the roast in the oven was getting cold. The chocolate cake I had spent all morning making sat perfectly uncut on the kitchen counter. Then I made the mistake of checking Instagram. At the top of my feed was a photo that made my blood boil. Lily was radiant in a flowing pink sundress, her arm around Ethan, who was grinning widely. Behind them was the vast ocean. The caption read, "Living our best life on the Caribbean." So grateful for this amazing family getaway. I scrolled down and saw more photos of Ben and Mia building sandcastles, Henry and Grace sipping cocktails on the ship. Everyone was there except me. A text from Ethan came in. "Sorry, Mom. Forgot to mention we'd be out of town this week. Lily booked a surprise trip. Happy birthday, though." As if a Caribbean cruise was something you could casually forget to tell your mother about, and as if scheduling it on my birthday was just a coincidence. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, my mind filled with memories of the past few years. At Ben's 5th birthday party, I'd arrived at the venue, excited to see him blow out the candles. But Lily met me at the door with an apologetic smile. "Oh, Carla, didn't Ethan tell you? We had to move the party to tomorrow because of a little emergency." But I could hear children laughing inside and see balloons through the window. When I called Ethan later, he was genuinely confused. "Tomorrow?"
No, Mom.
"The party's today." Lily must have mixed up the dates. At Mia's first day of school, I'd asked Lily 3 times what time they were dropping her off, so I could be there with my camera. "Oh, we're doing it super early, like 7 a.m., probably too early for you," she'd said. When I showed up anyway, the teacher told me Mia had been there since 8:30. Last Christmas, Lily called me 2 days before, her voice full of false concern. "Carla, I hate to do this, but Ethan's been really stressed at work. He asked if we could keep Christmas dinner small, just immediate family." I spent Christmas alone, reheating leftovers and watching old movies. Later, I found out from Henry that they'd had a big celebration with many people, everyone except me. A week after my abandoned birthday party, the doorbell rang. I was in my robe, nursing my second cup of coffee and staring at the stack of thank you cards I'd bought for the party that never happened. Through the peephole, I saw a man in his mid-40s, with dark hair and worry lines around his eyes. He was well dressed but looked rumpled, like he'd been traveling. "Can I help you?" I called through the door. "Mrs. Thompson?" His voice was hesitant. "Carla Thompson, Ethan's mother?" My chest tightened. "How did you know my son's name?" "Who's asking?" He was quiet for a moment and then said, "My name is Daniel Lee. I need to talk to you about Lily." I opened the door slowly, keeping the chain latched. Daniel looked even more nervous up close. His hands were trembling slightly, and there were dark circles under his eyes. "This is going to sound crazy, Mrs. Thompson, but I think my son might be living in your son's house. He sat on my couch, looking like he might run away at any second. He told me that he and Lily had been together for 2 years before she met Ethan. They lived together, talked about marriage, and then she got pregnant. But one day, he came home from work and she was gone, along with all her stuff. He'd searched for her for months, filed a missing person report, hired a private investigator, but found nothing. 3 months ago, at a conference in Miami, he saw Lily and a little boy who looked exactly like him at that age. He followed them and was sure the boy was his. He'd hired another investigator and found out that Lily's real name was Laura Smith. She'd been married twice before, both marriages ending in divorce, with her getting large alimony settlements. He then pulled out a manila envelope and handed it to me. These are DNA test results. I managed to get a sample of Ben's hair from the barber shop where Lily takes him. I had it tested against my own DNA. I was terrified to open the envelope, but I thought about Ben's sweet face, about all the times I'd been excluded from my family's life, and I knew I had to know the truth. I opened it, and the results showed a 99.7% probability of paternity. Ben wasn't Ethan's son. The anger I felt was overwhelming. Lily had built her entire marriage on a lie, using an innocent child as a tool. She'd isolated Ethan from his friends and family, and she'd tried to erase me from our family story. I called Ethan 3 days after they returned from the cruise. I invited them all over for dinner on Saturday, saying I had something important to discuss. On Saturday evening, they arrived. Lily was wearing a beautiful blue dress, looking like the perfect wife and mother. During dinner, I kept the conversation light, but I noticed how she interrupted Ben when he started talking about missing me on the trip and redirected Mia's attention when she asked why I hadn't gone with them. After the children finished eating, I suggested they play in the living room while the adults talked. Lily immediately objected, but I was firm. When the children were settled, I took out the DNA results and the investigator's report. I told them the truth. Lily stood up abruptly, denying everything and saying I had a breakdown. But Ethan, as he read the DNA results, his face turned pale. He realized that his whole family life had been a lie. Lily's composure shattered. She tried to convince Ethan not to believe me, but it was too late. Ethan was heartbroken. He realized that the family he thought he had was built on deception. In the end, Lily left. It took months of family therapy, careful conversations with the children, and legal proceedings. But slowly, we rebuilt our family. Ethan's divorce from Lily was finally finalized, and he was relieved. Now, Daniel has become a part of our family. He takes Ben to soccer practice, and Ethan takes Mia to her dance classes. We have Sunday dinners together, and the house that once felt so empty is now filled with love and laughter. I'm curious about you who listened to my story. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you ever been through something similar?
Comment below.
Thank you for listening.